What's going on, guys? Deja Brew here, co-founder of the Oasis Trading Group. In this video, I'm going to go over the DBT MoMo and what benefits it will provide you in your trading. Now, this indicator is pretty complex, so to keep it brief, I'm going to use screenshots to assist me throughout the video. If you're brand new to the DBT MoMo, never heard of it before, never seen it before, what it is it's a TradingView indicator designed to evaluate momentum and give the user signals according to momentum shifts, strength, extensions, traps, and divergence. It's an all-in-one style oscillator that will make reading price action near-term and long-term much easier. Let's get started. So one of the very first things the MoMo does is it has a histogram, which is the short-term momentum, and it has a trend line, which is the longer-term momentum. The histogram is based on only 3 candles, and the longer-term trend is based on 24 candles. So the overall indicator is placed into a range 20 to negative 20, and it has a positive 10 line, a 0 line, and a negative 10 line as well. Now, the basic understanding of the MoMo is obviously when it's above 0, you have some bullish momentum, and if it's below 0, you have some bearish momentum. Now, obviously, it can be ascending when it's below 0, and it can be descending when it's above 0. So if it's descending below 0, that's bearish momentum. If it's ascending below 0, so it's turning green here, this is bearish momentum weakening. The bulls are starting to pull back. And then if you have an ascending pattern above 0, you have bullish momentum. And then if you're pulling back down towards 0, you have the bullish momentum weakening, just as you would see on many different momentum indicators. So a few other things that the MoMo does is the trend line, if it's steadily staying above 10 or flattening out around 15, it's going to show that it's a very strong uptrend. Same for negative. If it's below negative 10 or flattening out around negative 15, it's going to show a very strong downtrend. Now you can see here the trend line is relatively flat around 15, never breaches 10 downward on its pullbacks, therefore the trend is very strong to the upside. Another thing the MoMo can do is when the trend line and the histogram pinch together and they begin to move in the same direction, as you can see here, moving heavily to the downside on both the trend line and the price line, which is the histogram. Price with the trend line and the price line begins to fall rapidly. This indicates a very strong downtrend, and you do not want to trade against this trend. You want to follow the trend as best you can. And if you're trading on the opposite direction, you probably want to look to close those positions. Another major feature of the MoMo is its predictions of tops and bottoms. So when the histogram and the trend line are both extended in the 10 to 20 range, or the negative 10 to negative 20 range, this shows an extension. It will give you a gold warning for tops, and it will give you a purple warning for bottoms. The purple shows a bullish extension, likely to pull back bullishly, or likely to find a bottom. And the gold shows a bearish extension, which is likely to pull back bearishly, and it's likely to find a top. Now you can see these colorations and these extensions go on for a long time. It's kind of the same mentality as an RSI when it's overbought or oversold, but it's very rare, and you typically will only see that in very strong trends. And it has a much higher strike rate than a standard RSI or other indicators of the sort. So another thing you can use the shading for is finding tops and bottoms. You can see here, once the shading turns off, once that trend line leaves that zone, it will give you a top and a bottom. So you can mark these as levels that will give you support and resistance levels, as you can see in a further screenshot here. If you mark the highest point once it's been shaded, that will give you a resistance. If you mark the lowest point during the shading, that would give you a support. Another thing to look for, so that you don't preemptively trade these, you can get in early once you start seeing it turn gold or purple. But typically what you want to wait for is when the gold is turned off and the price and the MoMo are moving downward. That will give you your bearish move down with confirmation. As you see here, once it turns off and it starts to move downward along with the MoMo, that gives you the confirmation. Like you see here, purple is turned off. Price and the MoMo are moving upward, as you can see here. That is your confirmation of your move. So your final confirmation is not going to be until the trend line has exited that extension zone, that negative 10 to 20 or the positive 10 to 20. Another thing you can use the MoMo for is traps. You want to look for this pattern, a flat trend line and then a rapidly moving price line. As you can see here, you can see this very strong uptrend had a lot of times where the price dipped, but it was only to trap the bears. You pulled back and then you triggered upward, and it actually gave you very good buying opportunities to get into these bear traps. So for a bull trap, you'd look for the same thing, a flattened out trend line, rapidly moving price line. Finally, another thing you can use the MoMo for is divergence. You see here bullish divergence and bearish divergence. It is very good at finding nearly every single divergence on the chart. Because the price histogram, the price line, is based on 3 candles, it can quickly find divergence on tops and bottoms. As you can see here, it finds 4 different divergences. This one actually ended up being a triple divergence, and they all play out quite nicely. Now this was just a brief video on the MoMo. If you would like further information, look at my YouTube. I have an hour-long video on the MoMo. It's very complex. So as I said, this is just going to be a short little introduction. If you guys would like to gain access to this indicator, go to oasistrading.io and check out our pricing. Appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.